Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today we're going to be doing an Amazoness deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is a really awesome warrior-based deck that basically swarms the field with all sorts of really awesome Amazoness monsters and then ultimately goes into some amazing fusion monsters like Amazoness Empress. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name searched for a single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to our Patreon along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Amazoness Princess. So Amazoness Princess is a great card in this deck and is a great starter for the deck because this card's name becomes Amazoness Queen while in the field or in the graveyard. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you get to add an Amazoness spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You only select this card once per turn, and when this card declares an attack, you can send one other card from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon an Amazoness from your deck in defense position, which is really amazing. I really love what this card does for the deck, and it helps out a lot as a starter card. We then play 3 copies of Amazoness Queen. This card is a great card in the deck and has a very simple effect that none of your Amazoness monsters can be destroyed by battle, which is really good to protect your monsters from battle because this deck is a deck that basically works during the battle phase. We then play 3 copies of Amazoness Swordswoman. Amazoness Swordswoman was actually one of my first cards that I got a long time ago. It was one of the main cards of one of my decks when I was younger, but it has the ability that your opponent takes all battle damage you would have taken from battles involving this card. This card is really awesome if your opponent puts a card on the field that has really high attack points, because you can just normal summon Amazoness Swordswoman, attack into the opponent's monster with this card, and do a massive amount of damage, which is really good. We then play 3 copies of Amazoness Spy. This card is really good to help you special summon it to your side of the field. You can reveal any Amazoness monster in your hand to special summon this card from your hand that's not Amazoness Spy, and it also has the ability to only select this card once per turn, and when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target an Amazoness monster in the graveyard and return it to your hand or shuffle it into the deck. So this card comes in very handy to just get you additional monsters on the field so you can link summon or go into some really awesome fusion monsters. We then play 2 copies of Amazoness Chainmaster. So Chainmaster is a very interesting card for this deck, and I really am liking playing this card as a 2-of. This card has a very neat effect that if it does get destroyed by battle, then you can pay 1,500 life points and then look at your opponent's hand and take a card out of it, which is really good to just basically give your opponent a -1, and you get to keep the card for the rest of the duel except until it goes to the graveyard, which then it will go to your opponent's graveyard. So this card is a very neat card. It can catch opponents off guard and can kind of work really well if you know your opponent has one combo piece that they really need to use this card to be able to basically take it away and hold it in your hand where they can't use it, which is really good. Even grabbing generic spells and traps is really good with this card. We then play a single copy of Amazoness Paladin. This card is basically just a monster that's going to gain a lot of attack points because it increases the attack of this monster by 100 points for each Amazoness monster on your side of the field, which is really good. Just to give you that monster that can be normal summoned to your side of the field and go up to 2,000 or even larger onto your side of the field. And plus, this is one of my favorite of all of the Amazoness monsters. We then play a single copy of Amazoness Sage. Amazoness Sage is a very neat card in this deck because at the end of the damage step, if this card attacked and is still in the field, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. This card comes in very handy in spell and trap heavy decks where you can just attack with this monster over and over again to be able to ultimately make it so your opponent doesn't have any spells and traps anymore. You get to basically pop one every single turn, which is very helpful. We're then playing a single copy of Amazoness Tiger. This card is basically here so we can go into our fusion monsters. You can only control one of it, and this card gains 400 attack for each Amazoness monster you control. And your opponent cannot target any face-up Amazoness monsters you control for attacks except this card, which is really good that it protects the rest of your Amazoness monsters. Especially if you have Amazoness Queen, where this card can't be destroyed by battle, you throw it in defense position and they have to target the monster that's in defense position for the attacks. We then play 2 copies of my personal favorite Amazoness card in the entire deck, and it's going to be 2 copies of Amazoness Baby Pet Tiger. I think this card is one of the most adorable cards in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it has the ability that this card's name becomes Amazoness Tiger while in the field or in the graveyard. And if an Amazoness monster is normal or special summoned to your side of the field, while this card's in your hand or graveyard, you can special summon this card as well. And you only use each of this card's effect once per turn. And it gains 100 attack for each Amazoness monster in your graveyard. So you can get quite big on your side of the field. which is really good for this card. And it also helps you out a lot for link plays and overall just going into fusion monsters. We're then going to be playing 2 copies of Goblinberg. Goblinberg is here so we can go into some additional XZ's plays and just go in for cards like Utopia Double to be able to OTK the opponent. We then play for our hand traps. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Nibiru because it combos very, very well with our copies of Amazoness Swordwoman to be able to just give it to our opponent with the copies of the Nibiru, and they get a really big token on their side of the field, and we just summon Amazoness Swordwoman and poke the token for whatever it is in defense position, or they switch it to attack position and we normal summon the Amazoness Swordswoman, and then sometimes you can even catch your opponent off guard where you attack into the token. I did consider dropping the copy of Amazoness Chainmaster down to 1 and playing a 3rd copy of Nibiru, so that is a tech if you guys want to change that out where you're playing 1 and 3. That is something for you guys to consider. So that's it for the monsters. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Reinforcements of the Army. This is basically here because it's going to search every single one of your Amazoness monsters in the deck, except for your Tigers, because they're all level 4 or lower. Amazoness Queen is also level 6, so you can't search her, or Tiger, or Baby Pet Tiger, but you can search all the other ones, which is really good for this deck. We then play a single copy of Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing comes in very handy in this deck, because this card has the ability that basically, when you summon Utopia Double, you're going to search this card, then summon Utopia on top of the Utopia Double. It comes out at 5,000, attack the opponent, and then when you attack the opponent, you detach a material, negate the attack, drop Double or Nothing, and then attack again for 10,000, which is really, really good in this deck. We're then going to be playing 3 copies of Amazoness Village. Amazoness Village is a really good card because it makes all of your face-up Amazoness monsters on the field gain 200 attack, and then once per turn, when an Amazoness monster is destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon another Amazoness monster from your deck with a level less than or equal to the monster that was destroyed, which is a really, really good effect to basically constantly give you Amazonesses on your side of the field with this card, which is a definite 3 of in this deck. We're then playing 3 copies of Amazoness Call. Amazoness Call is one of the best cards in the entire deck, and it is a really fantastic card to open because it lets you take an Amazoness from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. And then during your main phase, you can banish this card from the graveyard, and then one Amazoness monster you control, then target an Amazoness monster you control, and this turn that monster can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each, which is a really good effect to be able to just make one of your Amazonesses able to attack every single monster, especially your copy of your Amazoness Swordswoman comboed out with your copy of your Amazoness Queen, where she can't be destroyed by battle, but your opponent's constantly taking damage. We're then playing 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. Fusion Deployment is a fantastic card in this deck because you can basically reveal your copy of your Amazoness Empress in your deck and special summon out your Amazoness Queen to your side of the field, which is why I play the Amazoness Queen as a 3 of in this deck, because you will play at least 1 to 2 of them every single game, and you'll usually end up with 2 of them on the field very easily, but having the 3rd one in the deck is just really helpful for this particular card. We then play 3 copies of Polymerization. The 3 copies of Polymerization are here because you're going to be going into your boss monsters in the extra deck really easily, like Amazoness Empress and your Amazoness Pet Liger. With this card is really, really good to go into those good boss monsters. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps because we actually play a couple of traps in this deck. So for the traps, we're playing 3 copies of Amazoness Onslaught. So Amazoness Onslaught is a really good card because it has the ability that once per turn during the battle phase, you can special summon an Amazoness monster from your hand. And if you do, it gains 500 attack until the end of the turn. It also has the ability that after damage calculation, if your Amazoness monster battle an opponent's monsters, while this card is already face up on your field in your spell and trap card zone, you can banish that opponent's monster. And if this card is on the field, is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can turn an Amazoness monster in the graveyard and special summon it. This card is always going to give you pluses. It's going to let you special summon your Amazoness from hand to start swarming the board. It's going to be able to let you attack your opponent over and over again, and it also banishes the monsters, which is really, really good, which is why I play this card as a 3 of. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Amazoness Empress. Amazoness Empress is a really interesting card because it requires a Amazoness Queen plus any other Amazoness monster to summon this card. And other Amazoness monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. And if your Amazoness monster attacks a defense position monster, it gains piercing damage, which is really good to be able to just immediately inflict additional damage to your opponent. It also has the ability, if a face-up fusion, or if this face-up fusion summon card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, while it's in your your control, you can special summon an Amazoness Queen from your hand deck or graveyard, which is really good to combo with your Amazoness Queen. We then play 2 copies of Amazoness Pet Liger. Pet Liger is a fantastic card in this deck because it has the ability that once per battle, if this card attacks during the damage calculation, you can make this card gain 500 attack during the damage calculation only. And if your Amazoness monster attacked an opponent's monster after damage calculation, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and it loses 800 attack points. And monster your opponent control cannot attack Amazoness monsters you control except for your Pet Liger. So once you get your copy of your Pet Liger and your Empress on your side of the field, you're pretty much set up for all sorts of crazy plays. We're then going to be playing a single copy of Baguska just to slow the opponent down if we do need to. 1 copy of number 60 to double the attack of a monster. Bring back a monster from the graveyard or draw 2 and discard 1. So this card comes in very handy in the deck as just a general extender. A single copy of Utopia Double just to give us that OTK where we can make this card and then make a Utopia on top of it that goes to 10,000, which we do play a single copy of Utopia to combo with the Utopia Double, which comes in very, very handy in this deck to play both of these to just have an instant OTK. You play a second copy of Boral Sword, because Boral Sword is just really, really good in this deck to be able to OTK the opponent, especially with it being a battle phase heavy deck. You play a second copy of Access Code Talker. You don't have to play the Access Code Talker. You could play an Appaloosa or a Nightmare Cerberus in this place, because you're already playing the Boral Sword. So you can change it out for something else, or you can change it out for Boral Load. But this card's really good because it gives us additional pops on our side of the field to be able to pop cards our opponent controls. You play a second copy of Unicorn to give us spins on the field. 1 copy of Phoenix to pop spells and traps. Pentastag to give our monsters piercing damage that it points to, especially Utopia Double. IP Masquerena because you can link summon during your opponent's turn into a Unicorn to give us a spin. And a single copy of Cross Sheep because you can use the Cross Sheep to actually let you bring back one of your Amazoness monsters from the graveyard if you special summon out either of your fusion monsters, which is really good. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really, really fun deck to play around with. I really hope that you guys give this deck a try. It's very budget to play around with Amazonesses, except for like the Access Code Talker and some of the tech cards that you're playing in the deck, which can be changed for other cards. But this deck is a really, really fun deck to play around with, and I really love the playstyle. Being a very battle phase heavy deck is just really awesome. So, that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell near so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.